Hi guys, so welcome to the Data Science with Python channel. And one of the playlists in the Data Science with Python channel is Introduction to Python. And in our Introduction to Python series, we are talking about lists. Check out the last video before this one. You will see that we started off with a Python list. Now we introduced the Python lists. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the functionalities of a list. Now, we have been talking about functionalities and we often mention them with, or mention it with the dir function that shows you everything you can do to a list. And you may have heard me call them methods. So again, if we look at the last thing we created, one of the last lists we created, or basically if we create a list, so let's say we create a list, let's call this list underscore, what do we have in numbers? All right, we have a list then. Right, so here's a list. Now for us to see the functionalities or the methods of a list, we use, as usual, we use the dir function. Right, we use the dir function. Okay, hold on, let me see if I can make this a lot. Yeah, so yes, that's another one. Excellent. So we use the dir function. Now dir function brings out the functionalities. I'm calling them functionalities, right? So you can see here in the documentation, if called without an argument, returns the names in the current scope, right? So scopes attributes are given to the objects. So again, we check this out and you see that there are a ton of them. Well, not much. If we use the len function, you can see how many that is. So you see we have 47 47 attributes, methods attributed to a list. And so yeah. Now I just want to point something out. I think I've pointed out at that in another video. So we have methods, right? So here we have two types of methods. Here we have two types of methods, right? And one of them is the dunder method. It's the dunder method, and or you can also call it the magic method. I just thought I shared that because there's a fascinating stuff I learned, and I think you should know why. The other is just it's the method itself, right? And then the other one is, then the next, put a slash, the methods, right? So just the basic method or functionalities that they have. Now you look at these guys over here, you wonder why they call them dunder methods. So you see there are two underscores here, right? And they're double underscores. So the D in the double and then the underscore, that's why they're called dunder methods. Really nice stuff. So, right, so with this out of the way, we are going to look at these methods here. So I'm going to copy them. Then I'll use, I put a head in here, call this lists. No, I already have that. We have lists methods. So use markdown and right, and then we'll run this so you can see all of them. Right. Now with all these methods, you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can break them down in different ways. Right. So one of the first ways I like to break it down is to talk about adding to a list. So since a list is mutable, you can modify it, you can change to it, and you can add to it. So let's look at adding to a list. So we're going to add to a list. So we're going to look at the methods that will help us do that. And so the methods that are going to help us do that include the append method, extend, and insert. And we're going to see the difference in all this. Right. First, we're going to try out with append method. Now, when we append, so again, before we do that, we know we have list underscore numbers, And so we're going to look at them, see the way they are. Now, when we use the append method, so here we say list with this, then we chain it to the append function or append method, and inside of it we add what we want to append to it. So we want to append 6, so it makes it work. So now we've added 6 to it. Now if I call the list numbers here, you would think we added this because it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it just means the append will add elements to a list, but it will do it at the last part. It's going to add it to the last part of it here. So that's just what append does. It will add an item or an element to a pre-existing list. However, it is going to add that at the end of that list. So that's what happens. Right. So the next thing we're going to also do, so this basically is append. So let's document that. So append method. Right. So the next we're going to talk about is the insert. So here again, with the insert, you can now tell you can now say exactly where you would want to put in the element. So this, you could not control this. So with insert, you can tell where to insert an element. So so what I'll do here is I have the list underscore numbers, which is our list. I put the dot, then I insert. Now, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put, because elements are sequenced, they have indexes, right? So starting from here, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So say I want to add 7, which would only make sense. I'm going to say, let's put it here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's put it where 5 is. So I'll first call 5, and then I will now say 7. So once I do that and I print it, I should have, okay, let me just call it the list underscore numbers. I should have 7 now. So you can see that it went to this place, right? Or there's even an error, or not an error, basically. I would have loved it to be in front here, right? Maybe in an additional video, I could also show you how I could just switch those guys, right? So that's here with insert. Then finally, we're going to look at the last one, which is extend. Now with extend, you can take two lists and add them together, right? So that makes it really, that's really cool. So we have list underscore numbers, and so here we probably want to add 8, 9, 10, and 11. So here we're going to use the extend method, and we'll create a list underscore numbers. I'll call this 1, and inside of it we have an element where we have 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we have this as an element. So we want to now improve on what we already have, or an existing method, right? So what we do is we are going to extend it. So to extend it, I'll call list underscore numbers, which is the first element, the first one I created, dot extend. And inside the bracket, I'm going to put in list underscore numbers 1, right? And then I run it. So here I'll document this, right? The extend method, right? And then with this, I would basically print out list underscore numbers, and you will now see that we have basically put this together, right? So basically, a recap, what we did is we talked about the functionalities to a list, methods, right? And then with that, we were able to show why a list is mutable, right? So we use append, extend, and insert. With append, it takes an element and adds it to the last or to the end of a list. With insert, we can tell where we want to put the list, and since a list is sequenced, I figured out we could put it in the fifth slot here, and then we added 7 to it. So you see how that happened. Then with extend, we can take an additional list with entirely different lists and merge it to one list, and that's what we have here. Now, in the next video, we're going to see how you can probably change lists and access them in different ways, right? In this channel, we are learning data science with Python, and so it's important you learn Python from scratch, the philosophy of the fundamentals of Python, one object at a time. Like it, share it, share with your friends, share with your enemies. It's really, really important.